Hello my friends, this is Colio. Today I'm playing Dominions 4. The reason for this is it's one of the few things that I can actually get running on my laptop and record at the same time. I am recording audio with a kind of a cheap microphone, but it's way better than the microphone that's built into my laptop. And I'm also in a motel, so it might pick up some background noise, and I'm trying to eliminate that, but sorry in advance if any of that comes up. Another thing is I'm playing with the battle graphics detail very low, and I can get about 60 frames at very low, but to show you very high, a lot more stuff going on in it, but the frames dropping down to about 6. It's just absolutely not going to happen. As far as like graphically, this game doesn't have a whole lot that's important to see. It's more about the numbers and watching, the pixels clash, and you'll get to see that in a bit. But anyway, let's jump into it. So I've only got one night to record. I'm just going to play a really small map. This 27 land talus. It's got a land area up top. It'll have like 2 countries fighting over it, and this water area in the bottom of the map. The game name will be my name. Delete that. Okay, we're going to play in Middle Ages, and we're going to play with 3 players. One of the players will be a difficult AI, and one of the players will be an easy AI. Okay. The race that I plan on playing, this game's got several races, a lot of which are human races. Just consider them, they're like from different folklore backgrounds, but there's humans, and then there's some like demonkin and flying units and lizard people, and I tend to like the beast race ones, and a lot of them are kind of like in the bottom of this list, but I'm going to play a Satis. I'm going to play the lizardmen. For my main opponent, the difficult AI, I'm going to pick the Bandar Log, the land of the apes. So it's a bunch of, walking, it says in the bottom there, a realm of intelligent apes. Exceptionally smart white apes are sacred and blessed with the gift of magic. The apes have a multitude of missile weapons and have trained elephants and tigers to be used in warfare. So yeah, they're monkeys riding elephants and tigers. That just sounds really fun. So I'm going to pick them. Now, another thing is, I haven't actually played this game in a while, and there's been a lot of updates, so there's a lot of new stuff that I'm not very familiar with. Now, the third player, I'm going to pick the Atlantis Kings of the Deep, and this is kind of like mermen or fish people, but also kind of like, I don't know, either fish or toad or frog people. And they're easy AI because I want them to just be kind of like think of them, they're going to be in the water, but they can come on land, but they're more like a organized, just this annoying force for the rest of us. So think of them like they're a monster race. They come from the deep. They get on our nerves. We're not really going into the water at any point, probably, but, they're like something to make the game a little more interesting. Okay, so this is Satis. Satis is a swampy river valley surrounded by sandy deserts. In the fertile valley, a sacral kingdom of lizard-like humanoids has formed. The kingdom is ancient by human standards, and its wisdom and magical knowledge are great. At the top of the society is the Lizard King. The king is the highest priest of Satis, and we'll be making a Lizard King. He'll become a prophet. I'll explain that more when we get into it. Under the king are the high priest with their sacred serpents. The lizards are herbivores, but have enslaved a race of carnivorous lizardmen who serve as soldiers and workers. The Satisians are somewhat slow in movement, but have thick hides that protect them from cuts and bruises. Both lizard races are cold-blooded and become exhausted very quickly when fighting in cold provinces. They have partial resistance to poisons. The inhabitants of Satis prefer to live in warm provinces. With the coming of the new god, the swamps of Satis have begun to spread. Dense rains and oppressive heat turn the land into unhealthy marshlands, thick with the stench of rotting vegetation. Marsh masters have taken the place of sauromancers of old, and the swamp guard has replaced the chariots as elite troops. In this land, the lizards prosper. Within provinces influenced by this dominion, income is increased by 1% per level of dominion, and the income of enemy provinces is reduced by 5% of level of dominion. Unless cold-blooded, soldiers inside the dominion will suffer from disease. The Pretender and all his sacred units are immune to this effect. So a lot of what that means is we're lizard people, and we like it that way. If you're not cold-blooded, you're not a friend of the lizard people. We might get a couple, but we don't really want to be recruiting mercenaries, and anything not cold-blooded or not sacred is going to quite potentially contract a disease. We really want to spread our dominion out and spread heat and, you know, really start the global warming as quick as possible. Yeah? So this race has thick hides, they're cold-blooded, poison resistant, they prefer heat scale 2, so that means hot weather. Military infantry, slave warriors, sacred serpents, large Sobek warriors, and sacred guards. Magic, these are what they're good at: death, nature, water, and some astral. Now, I'm not going to focus too much on death. I want to stay on nature and water more. Now, death is a pretty big way Satis can play this game. A lot of people would do it that way, is build up a huge army of the dead. But I'm gonna try and stay away from that with this one. I might do a little of it. And the priests are very powerful, so let's go on to the next one. So right here we get to choose kind of our end game, our avatar. He's the god, or our pretender god, and I'll explain that in a bit too. A lot of these are new. The birds are new. This weird looking antlion is new. That's pretty cool. But I want to try out the cobras. Now there's 3 of them. One of them, I think I gotta right click on it. We'll cancel. There we go. The Serpent of Chaos. He's kind of like the evil version. Uses death magic. There's a kind of a holier version, the Solar Serpent, uses fire magic. It's pretty cool. But I'm gonna go with the kind of the offshoot of the 2 of them. The Wadget. Oops, I wanted to look at it. There we go. The Wadget. He's got regeneration 10%, and actually I think I can get a better detail. There we go. He comes with water and nature magic 1. Some research ability, which is, you know, it's a bonus. Regeneration 10% means he's going to gain 10% of his hit points every turn in combat. He's an amphibian, so he can go in the water. He doesn't really care about that. He strikes fear into the enemy, which is really good. You know, you see a giant cobra. This thing is massive coming at you. It's going to be kind of freaky. He's cold resistant, poison resistant, really good for us. And he's a cold-blooded, just like our lizard friends. Wasteland survival, swamp survival. He gives a supply bonus of 10. So that comes from his nature magic. You can think of him kind of like, you know, he's a very natural beast. So he spreads, you know, nature and wildlife, like food, and more animals are around. So that's kind of like where that extra food source comes from. And then he's got strength in the spring, which means that in the springtime is when we're at our strongest. His HP goes up quite a bit. So a really good time to go on the offensive in the spring. The Wadget, green one, is a great serpent born at the dawn of time, when monsters and giants roamed the world. It made this sacred river its home and became worshipped as a protector of the land and a bringer of annual prosperity. During the rebellion of the lesser gods, the great serpent remained neutral and tried to protect its subjects from the madness of warring gods. When the great antagonist was defeated, the Pantocrator imprisoned every spirit and monster that hadn't fought against the enemy. So the Pantocrator is like the main god in the world. And basically our god tried to remain neutral and not get involved in anything, and he got punished for it. Now with the Pantocrator gone, the shackles of the eternal prison is weakening, and the great serpent is preparing to return to the sacred river and the beings that dwell there. Great serpents can shed their skin and regenerate their wounds, and the green one is no exception. Okay, let's select him. Now, this is where I get to attach some design points to fill him out the way I want to play him. I'm going to give him some more water magic, some more nature magic, kind of fill that out. And I'm going to give them 4 in earth. This is going to give our bless effect +1 morale, +2 in defense skill, which isn't too bad for us, +2 in reinvigoration, which that's going to help our mages out. Our mages, as they cast spells, they slowly become tired throughout combat, and if they get up to 100 fatigue, they can't do anything in combat until they reinvigorate, until they, they have a rest. And then they can start casting spells again. Basically, they'll be useless in battle for a while. And the HP +3, it's a very weak bless effect. We're probably not going to be making use of this that often. Now, in his Dominion, he gives +2 heat. That's good. He's going to make the land warmer for our cold-blooded friends. I'm going to give him 2 growth. It's going to give us income +6%. Supplies +30%. It's going to be really good. That's more food. More food is good for us because we're kind of like the lizard folk are kind of like they breed a lot. They grow really big. They're a Zerg race, right? You want to like make a huge army and swarm the land super fast. So that's what we're going to be doing. And they grow fast. So we're going to go with that. And then I'm going to raise his Dominion up as high as I can go. This is his Dominion itself. These white candles are like his influence over the land. How many people believe in him? How influential of a god he is. And that is all. Okay? We're going to name this god. I don't know, I haven't really thought about it that well. We'll call him Big Snake. Let's just hit okay. It'll randomize us a name. We'll see what we get. Bomani. Okay. So our god's name is Bomani. That's a little weird, but I'll go with it. I'm going to raise the special site frequency up a bit. That's just more special sites, basically. Score graphs enabled. A little more Hall of Fame. I'm going to put renaming is allowed. Rename my troops. And then Thrones of Ascension. This is kind of like the win condition of the game. Each level 1 throne is worth 1 point. Every level 2 throne is worth 2 points. Every level 3 worth 3. But level 1 thrones are like very basic defense, and they get much harder to take the farther they go up. That's why I'm going to go with the level 2 thrones. They're not going to be really hard to take, but they'll be hard enough to take that it might slow us down a bit. I'm going to make 4 of them, but you only have to get 3 of them or 6 points to win. So basically capture 3 out of the 4 thrones and you win the game. So we're going to go with that. Hit OK. And it's creating the world now. This whole first episode's probably going to be me just kind of going over the troops and everything and showing it what it's like. In the beginning there was chaos. Out of chaos rose worlds populated with multitudes of beings. Wars were fought, kings and emperors rose and fell, and civilizations were built and crumbled as millennia passed. Gods, dark and strange, were worshipped in pagan temples. Still there was chaos. The gods fought among themselves, bringing even greater ruin to those who would serve them. At last there was one, a being of great power and enlightenment, who rose above his immortal peers, and cast them out of the heavens into oblivion. From chaos came order, and with order came peace, and the creatures of the worlds flourished. The age of chaos had ended. So this is basically telling the story of the Pantocrator, the one, like, amazing god. But he is now gone. The supreme god has suddenly disappeared. Prayers are left unanswered, and the smoke of offerings rises in vain to the heavens. No one knows why he disappeared, but it is certain that the people of the worlds are once again left without direction, without guiding principle, without order. Now is the time for the beings of great power and ambition to try their strength. The throne of the heavens stand empty, and only the strongest can rise to supremacy over all. Only the most powerful can ascend to take the place of he who came before. This is the time of great strife and suffering. This is the time of magic unequaled. This is the Ascension Wars. So, that's the name of the game. We want Bomani to become the main ruler of the world, right? The main god. So, real quick, looking at the map, we start on To the east, we have 5 adjacent provinces. All of these with the gray flag are neutral provinces. They're just run by barbarians and the like. Our enemy, the ape men, will start over on this side of the map, and then the aquatic mermen will be down here. Now the aquatic people, they have 4 different spots to come up on land and attack us from, so we have to always be vigilant of defending our shores. Basically, they can come up right there, 2 in the middle, and 1 on this side. And where they decide to come up, it's kind of help affect how things go down. But let's look at our units. We've got first Igizitu. Igizitu. He is a basic commander. He's got 60 leadership. Looking at his stats, consider 10 is the average number. So anything below 10 is below average. Anything above 10 is a bit, above average. The important ones, really for a commander, is leadership. He's not going to be getting into fights. Having some good protection and defense skill helps him not die. If he dies, his troops become very demoralized. He's not a great commander, and we'll probably just use him for moving troops around and building things. So I'm going to rename him. He's our logistics commander, and he's going to be, we'll call him Hammer. So logistics commander Hammer, and then we have Baba the Empoisoner. Now this is why I kind of picked the Middle Ages for the Cetis. In all the other, well, the first age at least, they don't get a stealthy unit, which is what this unit is good at, which means I'd have to summon spies, but now I get to start with a spy. And he's not so much good at like leading troops, but what he is good at is scouting. So he's going to be our scout, and his name is going to be, Hernandez. So there's Hernandez, the scout. And I'm going to take Hernandez and make him start going. He's going to make his way to this side of the map and see what the monkeys are up to. There's Bamani in all his greatness. He's chilling out in our capital city. Real quick on the capital city. You see the big castle in the middle that designates a fort. And this little temple icon shows that we have a temple in this region. That temple is slowly going to spread our dominion, which are the white candles, to the surrounding areas. You can see we've only got a little dominion in the top and a little in our capital. That's saying that maybe a couple people here believe in Bamani as the true God, and we'll spread that through prayer and teaching. The laboratory, this is all the places that are inside of Cetis, our main capital. The laboratory is basically our magic tower. It's where all the mages gather to do all their stuff. The last 2 are things specific to the Cetis. The Temple Marsh is what enables recruitment of certain special warriors, which we'll take a look at. And it produces death gems. It produces this is nature gems, and produces 1 water gem. And the Empoisoners Guild, which allows the recruitment of poison slingers, and the Empoisoner, which is like our scout. So let's take a look at the units. Up front is the task manager. So, taskmaster. He's a basic leader, but the important thing with him is he's got taskmaster, which makes slaves underneath him. He's got the whip. Our slave units are these 3 yellow troops. They have very low morale, but when they're underneath the taskmaster, they get a big boost in morale, so they get +2. The basic slaves are pretty weak, but the elite ones are decent units, and they're very cheap. They're only 12 gold per year. So we'll definitely be making a couple of slave armies, and the taskmasters will be leading them. Our most fundamental troop. Next up are 2 commander types. This commander is like the one, the logistics commander Hammer. they're just very basic. I don't think I would waste the money on them. The next one up, the Lizard Lord, he's got much better leadership, and under him, all squads gain +1 morale. In this game, morale is very important. You're much more likely to make a enemy army break from being frightened and run away from you than you are to actually kill every last unit. So the higher your morale is, the longer you last in battle, the more likely that you're going to win it. So this will be our main warfare guy, but we might not even get to him. Now we have a High Priestess Atis. They have priestly abilities, and they're like our second best priest. They're really only good when if we're fighting a lot of summoned units or a lot of undead. They're very good at banishing undead, and that's probably all we'd use them for. The Herodul also, this is our most basic priest, only a level 1 priest level. They're the same kind of purpose, very cheap to do that with. Probably will never use them. The Shaman, these are kind of like the smartest of the slave lizard, the carnivores. And what they're good at is research. They're not very great at magic, just one in each astral and nature. But the research is good, and more importantly, they're cheap. 36 gold per year. You can make a lot of these shaman and put them in your city just to research new technology, new magic. So we'll definitely have a lot of them. Now, the Lizard King. This is our main priest unit, and we'll be making one. He'll become the prophet who will spread the teachings of, what was our guy's name again? Bamani. He'll spread the love of Bamani. So we're going to go ahead and queue him up. This little hourglass means it's going to take him 2 turns to be made, because it's kind of a better than normal unit. It's got really great leadership, +2 to the morale, and this will be even better as a prophet. He'll go up to 4 priest level. And yeah, he'll be like one of our main commanders, our highest general, our king basically. Next up is the Marshmaster, kind of a mage unit. They start with 1 water, 2 death, 2 nature, and this question mark means that they have a 100% chance to gain either another water, astral, death, or nature, and a 10% chance to get another one of those. So at most they could be a 4 in death or a 4 in nature, or they could just have one of a couple things, be very spread out. They've got even better research, but the big problem with them is they're pretty expensive. 188 gold per year. They're kind of a late game, fill your armies out with magic and sling them down, but not very big in the early game. They're too expensive. Cold resistant, poison resistant. All of our guys will be resistant to poison, which is really good for us, and cold-blooded because they're lizards. The Sobek General, I think it's kind of a more advanced version of our other generals. I don't know if I'll ever get to it. They do have Taskmaster, but only +1. I don't think they're any better for our slaves than just a regular Taskmaster could get. They can command quite a bit. I don't know if I'll get to using these. I might have 1 or 2. And finally, the Empoisoner is that scout unit again. Now, that was like commanding units, leadership roles. In the actual soldiers, you've got basic Melissa, kind of a really cheap unit that you can get out really fast, but I probably won't bother with it. These cheap units, they tend to die really quick, and I don't know, I don't think they're worth it for building a nice big healthy army. Light infantry, same deal. They're a little more defensive with a shield, but again, that City Guard have castle defense, so they're really good if you put them on castle walls, but other than that, still not our best main unit. Here's our main unit, the heavy infantry. They come with good armor, a good shield, a spear, which is a very defensive weapon. This is our frontline troops who get in the front line and they don't die easy, right? They keep the enemy from getting to our archers and our commanders and all that. So a good melee unit. Now the Falconeer, they get 2 attacks. They dual wield falchions. They're kind of like, just as armored, but a little more on the aggressive side, while this is defensive. Now we've looked at our slaves. I'll probably be sticking with the elite warriors. They've actually got a little armor and a little more morale. A pretty good unit here, and they're worth the money. They're decently cheap. You can pump out a lot of them. The runners I won't mess with much. They're mainly meant to be fast and kind of you want to get them around an army to attack the back line, is like get into their archers really fast. Archers are very dangerous for our army, so that could have its uses, but I'm not going to bother with that so much. Here we have the Sacred Serpent. It's a sacred unit, and this means that if one of our priests were to bless it, it would gain all of our blessing effects, which aren't that great, but it's a little boon. But the more important thing is it has the standard ability, which gives everything in the squad that it's put in a little morale boost. They love fighting with the Sacred Serpent in their army. This is like the big, how would I say that? They're like the mascot, right, for each squad. So they're really happy when they've got one of these with them, and I'm going to try and have one in each army. The Swamp Guard, these are also a sacred unit. They get blessed. They're actually pretty good unit, and it's more of a late game. You want a really strong army. It takes a lot. You can only make a couple of these, like 5 per turn or per month. Each turn is a month. So yeah, it's more of a late game thing. The Sobeks, kind of more of a late game thing. They're a little stronger than normal units. And if you think of a normal lizard man being the size of a human, the Sobeks are kind of like really big people. You know, they're like kind of giant men or lizard men. So yeah, there's just meant to be these really big people. And the Sacred Guard, a sacred unit version. So you can think of the Sobeks kind of an advanced version of, I guess the heavy infantry is the Sobek, and then an advanced version of the Swamp Guard would be like the Sobek Sacred Guard. These things also very slow to recruit though, late game. And the Poison Slingers, these are our only kind of archer unit, and they don't work like a traditional archer. They're very short range, but what they do is they spread poison throughout the battlefield, which is really great against armored foes, right? Poison's not, you can't block it. So that's what they do, is they spread poison throughout the whole battlefield, and our troops, being poison resistant, doesn't affect them like if at all. So very good. I'll probably get a lot of them just chucking poison downrange. But to start us off, I think a good way to go forward is to get my slave armies up and running first. These are very efficient in the early game, and they're easy to get a lot of them going very quickly. So we're going to start with that. Okay, I still got a little bit of time. What else can I talk about? Okay, the armies that we have currently. The Logistics Commander Hammer, he's got a couple light infantry on him, and I think these are city guards. These are not the best units to start the game with, but they can help us start spreading like immediately right off the bat. So I'm going to take them and put them with Bomani. Right now they have +0 morale underneath Hammer because he's not that great of a commander, but under Bomani they'll have +1. Well, I mean, think about it. If you were to go into battle, wouldn't you want to go into battle with a giant cobra at your back? A cobra god? Yeah, I'd feel a lot happier about it too. So we'll take this unit. There are 25 of them. He can manage up to 80. And this being 3 squads, if I wanted different squads of units, I could have up to 3 of them without having any sort of morale deficiency. But I'm going to keep them all in one unit. Right here I can set their battle orders. I want to tell them to attack the closest enemy as quick as possible. We're very susceptible to archers, so the faster we get to an archer, the better. And this is the formation. There's the back and the front line. I want them to be pretty close to the front line so they can get to those archers as fast as possible. Now Bomani, I can set him orders as well. Starting out, he doesn't have much in the way of magic. Freezing touch, pretty weak. I think he's a poisonous snake. He does better just biting people. And flying shards, it throws several rocks at people up to 25 range. But Bomani is not a very accurate at range fighter. He's very average in precision. So it's not really the best use for him. The best thing that Bomani can do is just eat people, and that's exactly what we want him to do. So Bomani's going to be a little bit closer, but still behind these guys. We don't want him taking too many arrows. But as soon as he gets in there, he's going to have a couple snacks. Okay. With that, is Hernandez? I think I accidentally clicked him not to move, so I'm going to get him moving again. And then Bomani, it's really dangerous in the beginning of the game to go out because I have no idea like what kind of people are in these areas until a turn has passed. So for the first turn of the game, we're just going to sit in the base. And outside of that, I think we've gone over everything. There's some mercenaries, but like I said, I'm not going to mess with mercenaries. Otherwise, they'll probably catch diseases and such. But that's it. Yeah, I'm going to end the turn here. And I'm also going to end the video. In the next video, we'll get to more interesting things, maybe for those of you who know all this stuff already. So thanks for watching, guys. Later.